welcome to Storytime, How I Became a Bitch, Part 1. I became a mom. No. So I wanted to just give a little bit of story time. Today, 13 years ago today, I had my second baby. And I wanted to tell this story because I feel like it's so palpable. And I'm sure you can relate to this on some level. And it's such an important thing to talk about and share about. Are these subtle energetics of when we notice a shift within ourselves and how it can easily go overlooked and we just keep going, right? And how important it is to call our attention to these subtle energetic shifts in our life. I like to think of these as initiations. In Crown Codes, which is my biz alignment course, I talk about how our crown, the crown that we wear as entrepreneurs or whatever your thing is made up of all these jewels. And each one of those jewels is from an initiation that you and you alone went through. Now, we go through some similar initiations, becoming a mom, getting married, like stepping into something, like there's certain initiations, right? But how these are translated and what comes up within that, like shared journey, right? Like we all go through, if we become a mom, we all go through some sort of initiation, but it's translated differently, right? What comes up for you in that process is going to be unique to you, and it's going to fit into your purpose. It's going to fit into your purpose in some way, shape, or form. And so I think this is a very important thing to talk about. So thank you if you're joining live, and you can type it in the chat and let me know when you had an initiation into becoming the bad bitch that you are. And today I'm talking about, because 13 years ago today, I had my son, my second child. And I'm going to tell that story because it's such a huge, huge part of the work that I do with women. So 13 years ago today, I had the same midwives that I had with my first child. So I had a home birth with my first child. 3 years later, was having my second child. And there's so much I could tell you about that journey, but I'm going to keep it to that birth process. And I had the same midwives, but the first birth, I had the midwife that I wanted to be there. And with the second birth, I was like, okay, there's two midwives. For the first birth, I had that midwife. So I can guarantee pretty much, hi, if you're just joining, I can guarantee pretty much that the universe wants me to have that same midwife. Like, that's just the way it's going to go. I'm going to hire these midwives knowing that I prefer this one midwife, but it's just going to happen that I have this one midwife, right? And the universe was like, ha, 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 So I'm in labor with my second child, and I find out that the midwife on call is actually the other midwife. So the other midwife comes to my house. She's not very nice. The student checks me, and I'm not far along enough for the midwife to want to stay. And I'm grateful. She leaves and I'm grateful, but her negative energy in my birth space and the way that she talked about it, like, you should just go to sleep. You're not really in labor. You should just go to sleep. This is probably a false alarm because it was my due date. And as you know, if you've had kids or you just know this, that there tends to be this thing where we are attached to a date. This was not the case. This was the case of having a Virgo sun. Hi, I'm telling the story about how I became a bitch, and this is my birth story with my second child, whose birthday is today. So, how I was initiated into becoming a bitch. So she puts her negative energy into the birth sphere. As soon as she leaves, I'm like, I gotta clean this up. This is yucky. My partner at the time hears this very logical, very masculine midwife say, your partner's not really in labor, you should sleep. And he goes to sleep. And I spent that labor alone. I'm gonna get emotional. But it was the biggest initiation for me because when the time came, when my water broke and the time came, I decided not to call that midwife back. And I decided to have that baby on my own. And this was the biggest initiation into me standing in my power that I think one of the biggest ones that I had in stepping in my power and becoming the bitch that I am, I made a very conscious choice to not call that midwife back, that midwife was not welcome at my birth. And if any of you have had children, you know that you are in a very vulnerable place when you're in labor. And if there's any kind of negative energy in your space, it can make a huge impact on the birth. And so for my second child, he was born in the water, and the student midwife that I liked walked in the door after his head was born in the water, put on a glove, and caught the rest of him. And he was born at 11. My sister thinks 11:12. I'm kind of like, could be 11:11 on that day. And it's just such a big thing for us to acknowledge, because in some ways, on some level of consciousness of the psyche, we could say that, oh, she just missed the birth on accident, whatever, and I could not take any ownership energetically of that experience. But to empower ourselves, it requires you to pay attention to the subtleness of our life. Our life happens at the subtle level. Our life happens, 90 to 95% of our life happens at the subconscious level. Her energy was not welcome at my birth. So if you guys are just joining, I'm telling a birth story and how I became a bitch, and the birth of my second child was definitely it, because that birth was an initiation into raising that child, and that child was not easy. That child, I was told that I shouldn't breastfeed. I was told that he was malnourished. I was told that I was doing wrong by him. He ended up having all sorts of things happen that I was prepared for, because I held my own and I became my own bitch while in labor with him. And this is such an important thing. Wherever you are in your life, look at what led you to here, to becoming how strong-willed and how beautiful you are in claiming your reality. It requires us to get really honest about these very subtle shifts and these very subtle things that we can easily overlook in our life. But it's so important to go back and celebrate the steps that it took to get here. Our brains are designed to focus on the negative. Our brains are designed to really have us focusing on how far we haven't made it, what we haven't done yet, the things we don't have yet. But if you can shift this and start looking at the choices that you've made to get you to where you are today and how everything is interconnected, you're going to be so much more satisfied with where you are right now. So that all being said, it's important to understand that the choices that you make for yourself in a moment, and the more that you're honoring the energy, the more you're going to take ownership of your own life. It's easy to overlook the energetics. It's easy to deny the energetics, but everything is energy. And so Bitches Shine Brighter is a 4-week journey with me live. It's starting September 22nd, and we are diving into the energetics of boundary setting, deciding and choosing what is okay in your life, in your surroundings. When you show up in a room, what is acceptable to you, for you, and what is not. And how these very subtle energetics that we can easily overlook define everything in our life. So if you're ready to really shine a lot brighter, you already shine bright. If you're ready to shine a lot brighter, it really has to do with these energetics and the energetics of boundary setting. So this 4-week journey with me, there's more info in my profile. We start September 22nd. There are 4 modules live, and then there's 1 module that is already recorded to start you off with, so you could get started today if you decide to join us. And then it has little meditations, activations, as just when you need them. It's lifetime access, so you'll have this. So when you're challenged, because we all are challenged as humans, and I often go back and listen to my own self-talking, because we all need guidance and we all need these reminders when we're challenged. so you have lifetime access to the course. And this course really shifts the way that you're viewing those subtle changes and shifts and how to celebrate. One of the biggest shifts that the women I work with have is that we learn to celebrate conflict. And we learn to celebrate conflict because conflict means that we're growing. Conflict means that the energy is no longer suffice. We're no longer accepting certain behaviors. And there's going to be conflict when you're raising yourself to the next level. And we have to rise to the occasion. We have to wear that crown that we go into in Crown Codes, which will be coming to you live in the springtime. That's a springtime course that I do around business energetics alignment. So right now we're dealing with boundaries. What's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and the subtle energetic awareness that you can have moment to moment to hold not only yourself accountable, but hold the people closest to you accountable as well. And one of the things I always talk about with boundaries is how beautiful, what a beautiful gift it is when someone sets a boundary with me. When someone sets a boundary with you, it is an incredible gift because you get to see where their energy begins and where their energy ends, and you get to see where your energy begins and where your energy ends. When somebody has a boundary with you, you're able to see yourself. You're able to see that person. When someone is just trying to please you and doesn't really have good boundaries with you and they're enmeshing with you, you can't tell what is yours and you can't tell what is theirs. The best thing that we can do for our children, for our loved ones, for each other is to hold the container of our beautiful energy so solid and so bright that it helps others to see where they begin and where they end and how to hold their own boundaries. So as you can see, my work is all about becoming the medicine that you are by living and breathing the medicine. So when we become the medicine that the world is asking for, it is the best gift that we can give to our loved ones and to really society as a whole. So if you're really ready to hold your own energy brighter, shine a little brighter, and start magnetizing at a higher level, Bitches Shine Brighter is the place for you. I'm so excited to start September 22nd. If you have any questions, you can message me, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you for listening to my story time. Take care. Bye.